Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. This time I wanted to talk a little bit about what are you currently collecting for your collection. Um, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm currently trying to do, and I'd be interested in hearing in the comments and what you're doing. So anyway, I think we all follow lists for the most part. I can't speak for everybody. We come out with our top 10 list, top 15 list for 2020. Maybe some of you are already working on what's going to be on next year's list. I know I am. But what are you currently getting now? I mean, we don't always follow those lists, right? So what are some books that you're looking to add? What titles are you looking to add to your collection? Now, for me, I've mentioned, I believe in a couple of videos, that I don't really collect runs. I don't, in the traditional sense. And what would be the traditional sense of collecting a run? Well, let's say, for instance, Amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1 run would be Amazing Spider-Man 1 to whenever that series ended. I don't know how many issues were in Volume 1. But that would be what I think a lot of comic book collecting purists would consider a run. Collecting your Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1 run or Classic X-Men run or whatever. I'm not really that type of collector. Maybe when I first started collecting back in, 1993, the early days, I would have liked to have completed a traditional run. But as time went on, I moved away from that sort of stuff. I mean, I really don't need, or, be quite frankly, really don't want every issue in an entire run per se. I mean, if I was collecting, let's say, Long Shot, the miniseries, I may only want issues 1 and 3. But, I may get the others in that miniseries because it's no big deal. It's only 6 issues, right? But to collect an entire volume of a series is a pretty big undertaking, especially if a lot of the books are out of your range or books that you won't spend a certain amount for. I know a lot of the people that have been collecting since the 60s and the 70s who've been able to, and well into the present, have been able to build their runs over time, whether the books just come out in the 60s and 70s and they were able to pick them up from the newsstand or off the spinner racks, or bought them maybe a decade later. It's a little different than people collecting runs today because a lot of those books are very, very, very expensive right now. So I don't particularly collect runs for maybe that reason and other reasons, because I just don't really feel like having every single thing. It's not just expensive issues. I don't really need to have the Amazing Spider-Man 367 in my collection. It's just, not really anything of interest to me. But for me, I collect what I would consider a run is any specific period in a comic book series. For instance, well, let's go back to Amazing Spider-Man. And I've mentioned this in previous videos. For me, I'm currently working on, it may take me a couple years, but I'm currently trying to finish my Amazing Spider-Man 1 through 20 run. I consider that a run. Again, traditionalists may consider the entire volume a run. Some may go for, and people like me, we modify it. Like I said, I would like to have 1 through 20. Not that anything that came after 20 is bad. We know that that's not necessarily true. But for me, I found that when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man and several other series like X-Men and so forth, 1 through 20 is the most meaningful. Again, that doesn't mean that what came after 20 is not meaningful in both series and in other series. That's clearly not the case. And I will cherry pick books, and I have cherry-picked books after issue 20 to add to my collection in those series and many other series. But I would like to have numbers 1 through 20 in both Amazing Spider-Man and X-Men. Where I stand right now, as of May 2020, I'm more than halfway there with Amazing Spider-Man. I think I'm about 8 issues away from completing that run of 1 through 20. And with X-Men, I'm 4 away. I mean, X-Men's going to be finished pretty easily. But it's meaningful, and it's fun, you know? We collect for many different reasons. We enjoy collecting for maybe because of value, or the prestige, what we consider prestige, right? In having collectibles. We collect for the stories, the artwork, whatever it is. We all collect for different things. Some people collect because they want to sell down the line, or some people collect because they want to have these things to preserve. They like to keep these things. They see them as art, worth keeping. And it doesn't matter what the grade is. Whatever. We all collect different ways as we view runs in different ways. So another run, or another thing that I'm currently working on, trying to collect. This is not just a video about collecting runs, because it certainly isn't. It's about what you're collecting now. Well, that's what I'm doing right now, the way I see things. I'd like to upgrade and collect certain books that are missing from what I consider a run. And this also holds true for my Tales from the Crypt run. Now, for me, a Tales from the Crypt run starts at Crime Patrol 15, which was the very first Cryptid Terror story, the introduction to the Crypt Keeper, all the way to Tales from the Crypt 46, which was the very last issue of that series. Now, some may consider, if you're really collecting a run of that, it would start at, I guess, International Crime Patrol number 1, all the way to Tales from the Crypt 46. I get that. I understand that. But for me, it's not really, I wouldn't really consider that a run, because before Crime Patrol 15, that series was about crime. You would think that, right? Since it's Crime Patrol. But after Crime Patrol 15, when the Cryptid Terror story was a huge success, a lot of people liked it. It took over the title within, 2 issues? They had Crime Patrol 16, then they went right to Cryptid Terror 17. Bye-bye crime. Even though some of those early Cryptid Terrors, early Tales from the Crypt, still had a crime slant to them before they went full-blown supernatural and horror and all that stuff. But that's another subject. But for me, it starts at Crime Patrol 15. With that run, I'm missing, I think, 7 issues. 7 or 8 issues. I have to, look at the collection again. But I think I'm missing about 7 or 8 issues, and then that run will be complete. Most of the hard work is done there. Crime Patrol 15 and 16, Cryptid Terror 17, 18, 19, Tales from the Crypt 20. Those are some of the hardest books to get if you're collecting for that series. Now, I'm not necessarily opposed to getting other issues in that series, but for me, and this goes for everything else, Spider-Man, X-Men, whatever it is I'm collecting, eventually I'll work on a Fantastic Four run of 1 through 20. I might even work on an Avengers, an Incredible Hulk 1 through 6, all that stuff. But that's stuff for years down the line. Just got to concentrate on these 3 right now. But I'm not opposed to getting any other issues outside that run. It's just that right now I'm concentrating on these books. Those are the most important to me for right now. Getting the books I don't have, upgrading some of the books that I'd like to upgrade, those take precedent over getting, an Amazing Spider-Man 54 or Crime Patrol 9. I'd rather collect what I want, be satisfied what I have at that time, and be able to say to myself, if I stop collecting, I'm good. I don't need to get anything else. I'd rather take care of that before I start saying, well, maybe I'll get a couple other issues. And that's what I'm collecting right now. That's the way I see things when it comes to collecting runs and so forth. Everyone has different opinions. Everyone modifies what they consider a run. Some people collect the Jack Kirby run on X-Men. Some people collect the Steve Ditko run on Amazing Spider-Man. Some people collect the Todd McFarlane run on Spider-Man. Some people collect this and that and alter it many different ways. That's what's so fun about the hobby. You can change it to your own style. Again, I know there are purists out there that feel that a run is, in a traditional sense, 1 through whenever the end of that volume is. And in some ways they're right, and in some ways they're wrong. It's to each his own. So what about you? What are you currently collecting? Do you have your own run that you're working on? Is it traditional? Is it non-traditional? I'd be interested in knowing. Let me know in the comments. Take care and stay safe, everyone.